Aptain Hana Kim pressed her fingers against her temples as she stared at the glowing blue records floating in the air before her. The Altarian command center was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers and the distant sound of footsteps in the corridors. She had been reading the same files for hours, but every time she looked at them, she felt a strange pull she could not explain. 800 years. That was how long it had been since the Galactic Council made their decision about Earth. She remembered learning about it in school as a child. The human planet was declared dead to the galaxy, not because the people had died, but because they were too dangerous to be allowed into space, too violent, too unpredictable, too primitive. The quarantine barriers around their solar system were still there, floating in space like invisible walls. Every ship that passed through that area of space received the same warning message that had been broadcast for centuries. Danger. Barbaric species, do not approach. Most pilots had never even seen a human. They were like stories from old books, real ones, but forgotten now. Hana had always wondered what happened to them. Did they give up trying to reach the stars? Did they destroy themselves in wars like the Council predicted they would? Or did they simply fade away alone on their small blue planet? The sound of boots on metal made her look up. Commander June Park was walking toward her station, his face serious. June was her oldest friend and her most trusted officer. They had served together for 12 years, and she could read his expressions like words on a page. "Captain," he said, stopping beside her chair. "We have a problem. The sensors are picking up something strange from the quarantine zone." Hana felt her heart skip a beat. "What kind of strange?" June touched the control panel, and new images appeared in the air between them. Lines of energy twisted and danced across the display like living things. The colors were bright and sharp, nothing like the soft blues and greens of normal space readings. "Energy signatures," June explained, "but not like anything in our databases. The computer cannot identify what is making them." Hana stood up and walked closer to the display. The energy patterns were beautiful in a way that made her nervous. They moved with purpose, like they were following some kind of plan. "How long have they been there?" "The reading started 3 days ago. At first we thought it was just background noise from a nearby star. But the patterns are getting stronger and more complex." Hana touched one of the light streams with her finger, and the image responded by showing more details. Numbers and symbols filled the air around them. Power levels, frequency measurements, distance calculations, all of it pointed to the same impossible conclusion. "These readings are coming from inside the quarantine zone," she said quietly. "Yes, Captain." "From the direction of the Sol system." "The Sol system. The human system." Hana felt a chill run down her back. "Are you saying the humans are still alive?" June nodded slowly. "Not just alive. These energy signatures suggest advanced technology, very advanced." Hana walked to the large window that looked out into space. Stars scattered across the darkness, like diamonds on black cloth. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of their sight, was a system that the galaxy had forgotten about. A system that might not be as empty as everyone believed. "Captain," June said softly. "What do you want to do?" She turned back to face him. "What do the regulations say about the quarantine zone?" "No contact, no investigation, no exceptions." "And if we ignore the regulations?" June was quiet for a moment. "We could lose our ranks, maybe even face prison." Hana looked at the energy patterns again. They pulsed with a rhythm that reminded her of a heartbeat, alive, active, waiting. "Prepare a reconnaissance ship," she said finally. "A small one, fast and quiet." "Captain, are you sure about this?" "No," she admitted. "But I need to know what is happening in that forgotten system. The galaxy moved on without Earth, but maybe Earth did not stand still." June saluted. "I will get the ship ready." As he walked away, Hana remained at the window, staring into the darkness. 800 years was a long time, long enough for a species to die out completely, but also long enough for a species to grow in ways no one expected. The humans had been called primitive and violent. But what if the galaxy had been wrong? What if leaving them alone had been the worst mistake in galactic history? She thought about the energy signatures again. So complex, so powerful, so unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Tomorrow she would fly toward the quarantine zone and find out the truth. She would discover what had become of the humans after 8 centuries of isolation. Part of her was excited. Part of her was terrified. But most of all, she had the feeling that everything was about to change. The galaxy had forgotten about Earth, but perhaps it was time for Earth to remind the galaxy that it still existed. Captain Hana Kim felt her hands shake as she looked through the viewport of her small reconnaissance ship. What she saw made no sense. Where she expected to find empty space or maybe a few primitive satellites, there was a massive structure floating in orbit around Earth. It was bigger than any space station she had ever seen, bigger than the capital, stations of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. The structure was beautiful in a way that took her breath away. Smooth metal surfaces curved and twisted like flowing water, but frozen in time. Lights moved along its surface in patterns that seemed almost alive. Ships moved around it like fish swimming around a reef. But these were not the crude rocket ships the Council had expected humans to build. "Captain," June whispered from beside her, "are those really human ships?" Hana stared at the vessels moving through space around them. They were sleek and elegant, with no visible engines or exhaust. They seemed to bend the space around them as they moved, creating ripples in reality itself. Some were as large as cities. Others were small and fast, dancing through space like birds in the sky. "I think so," she said quietly. "But this is impossible. The humans were supposed to be primitive." A soft voice filled their ship. It spoke in perfect Altarian, with no accent or difficulty with the language. "Altarian vessel, you are welcome. Here, please follow the guide ship to Docking Bay 7. A small human ship appeared beside them, moving without any sound or visible propulsion. It was beautiful and strange, like nothing in the galactic databases. Hana had no choice but to follow it toward the massive station. The docking bay was enormous. As their ship settled onto the landing platform, Hana could see dozens of other vessels from species she did not recognize. Some had designs that looked familiar but advanced beyond anything she knew. Others were completely alien to her. "Captain," June said nervously, "what do we do now?" Before she could answer, the airlock opened. A woman walked in, wearing a uniform that was simple but elegant. She was clearly human. Hana recognized the species from old records. But she moved with confidence and authority that surprised the Altarian captain. "Welcome to New Terra Station," the woman said, speaking Altarian perfectly. "I am Admiral Sujin Lee of the Human Stellar Assembly. We have been expecting you." "Expecting us?" Hana asked. Admiral Lee smiled. "We detected your ship 3 days ago when you first approached our border. We have been watching the galaxy for a very long time, Captain Kim. We know about you, your ship, and your mission." Hana felt a chill. "How do you know my name?" "The same way we know about the energy crisis on Altair 7, the mining problems on Kepler Station, and the political troubles in the Vegan Council. We watch, we listen, we learn." Admiral Lee gestured toward the viewport. Outside, the view showed Earth floating below them, but it was not the Earth from the old records. The planet glowed with the lights of massive cities. Rings of metal and crystal surrounded it like jewelry. Ships moved between the planet and its moons in streams of light. "You expected to find primitives with crude rockets," Admiral Lee said calmly. "Instead, you found an empire spanning 40 star systems." Hana moved closer to the window, trying to understand what she was seeing. "This is impossible. The Council said humans were too primitive for space travel." "The Council said many things," Admiral Lee replied. "Most of them were wrong." Through the viewport, Hana could see ships that moved without engines, space stations that seemed to grow like living things, and technology that made the galaxy's most advanced civilizations look primitive. A human ship passed by the window and space seemed to fold around it like cloth being folded by invisible hands. "Your quantum fold drives," Hana whispered. They make hyperspace travel look ancient. We learned different ways to move through space, Admiral Lee explained. When you are alone for 800 years, you have time to think of new solutions to old problems. June stepped forward. Admiral, how is this possible? The galactic databases show humans as a young species with basic technology. Admiral Lee's expression became serious. The galactic databases are 800 years out of date, Commander Park. While you built bigger versions of the same old machines, we built entirely new kinds of technology. While you fought the same old wars, we learned to work together. While you struggled with diseases and problems that seemed impossible to solve, we found answers. She touched a control panel, and the viewport changed to show images of human hospitals where beings from dozens of species were being healed of diseases the galaxy considered incurable. Medical technology that could regrow lost limbs, cure genetic disorders, and extend life far beyond what anyone thought possible. We have been watching you all along, Admiral Lee continued, turning back to face them. Waiting for the day you would need us. Need you? Hana asked. Admiral Lee's expression became grave. Captain Kim, your reconnaissance mission was not random. Something is coming toward the galaxy from outside. Something that will threaten every world and every species. Your leaders know this, even if they have not told you yet. Hana felt her world shifting around her. Everything she believed about humans, about the galaxy, about the order of civilization was wrong. What do you want from us? She asked quietly. Admiral Lee smiled sadly. Nothing, Captain. The question is, what do you want from us? The first. Reports came from the outer rim of the galaxy, where the stars were thin and the space between worlds was vast and dark. Trading ships stopped arriving from the frontier colonies. Communication signals went silent, one by one. At first, the Galactic Council thought it was just equipment failure, or maybe pirates attacking the remote settlements. Then the refugee ships began to arrive. Captain Hana Kim stood in the council chambers on the capital world of Prima, watching the holographic display that showed the galaxy's edge. Red markers indicated dead systems, places where all life had stopped transmitting signals. The red zone was growing larger every day. They called themselves the Devourers, reported General Thex of the Krex military forces. His forearms moved, nervously as he spoke. Machine intelligences from outside our galaxy. They consume everything. Planets, stars, entire solar systems. They break down matter and convert it into energy to fuel their expansion. The hologram showed a recording from a survivor's ship. Black metal structures the size of moons moved through space, surrounded by swarms of smaller machines. As they approached a star system, the planets simply disappeared, consumed piece by piece until nothing remained but empty space. How many systems have we lost? Asked Counselor Zara of the Ethereal Collective. 47 confirmed dead. 23 more have gone silent in the past week, General Thex replied. Hana watched the display with growing horror. Each red dot represented billions of lives, entire civilizations that had existed for thousands of years, now reduced to nothing more than fuel for these machines. What about our fleets? Asked another counselor. Surely our combined military forces can stop them. General Thex's expression darkened. We sent the 5th Krex battle group to intercept them at the Vega system. 1,200 ships, our finest warriors, our most advanced weapons. He paused. The Devourers turned our own ships against us. They converted our technology and used it to build more of themselves. The chamber fell silent. The Krex were known throughout the galaxy as the greatest warriors. Their ships were legendary for their power and their crew's skill in battle. If they could not stop the Devourers, what could? The Ethereals tried next, Counselor Zara said quietly. Her voice carried the sadness of her people, beings of pure energy who had existed since the galaxy was young. We thought our energy-based forms would be immune to their conversion technology. We were wrong. They absorbed us directly, using our life force to power their expansion. More reports came in over the following days. The ancient Voidwalkers, masters of space and time, had tried to use their reality-bending technology to trap the Devourers in pocket dimensions. The machines had simply learned to manipulate reality themselves and escaped. The Synthetic Alliance, a confederation of artificial intelligences, had attempted to communicate with the Devourers and find a peaceful solution. They were converted within hours. Every strategy failed. Every weapon proved useless. Every civilization that stood against the Devourers became part of their growing army. Ambassador Wu Jin Nam stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council, his usually proud bearing broken by desperation. He was old now, his scales gray with age. But Hana remembered him from her academy days when he had been one of the most powerful voices in galactic politics. "Honored counselors," he began, his voice cracking. "We have exhausted all conventional options. Our fleets are destroyed, our worlds are burning, our people are dying by the billions every day." The holographic display now showed nearly a quarter of the galaxy painted in red. The Devourers were not slowing down. If anything, they were accelerating as they consumed more resources and built more machines. "There is one option we have not considered," Ambassador Nam continued. "One civilization we have not asked for help." Murmurs filled the chamber. Everyone knew what he was about to say, but no one wanted to hear it. "The humans," Nam said simply. "Digao." Reaction was immediate. Shouts of anger and disbelief filled the air. "The quarantined species? The primitives? You would ask barbarians to save us?" Ambassador Nam raised his hands for silence. "I was there 800 years ago when we made the decision to quarantine Earth. I voted for it. I believed humans were too violent and primitive to join galactic civilization." His voice grew quiet. "I was wrong." He activated a new display, showing the energy readings that Captain Hana Kim had discovered. The patterns were beautiful and complex, clearly showing advanced technology. Recent reconnaissance has revealed that humanity has not remained primitive. They have built an interstellar empire with technology beyond our understanding. They may be our only hope. The journey to Earth took 3 days. Ambassador Nam led you, a small delegation of the galaxy's most important leaders, traveling in a ship that broadcast peaceful intentions on all frequencies. They knew that humans had been watching the galaxy, and they hoped those watchers would allow them to approach. When they reached the borders of human space, they were met by sleek ships that seemed to bend reality around them. Without a word, the human vessels guided them to the massive station orbiting Earth. Admiral Su-Jin Lee met them in a simple conference room. She looked human, but her bearing and confidence reminded Nam of the greatest leaders he had known in his long life. "Ambassador Nam," she said calmly, "we have been expecting you." Nam, who had once been proud enough to vote for humanity's exile, now fell to his knees before the human admiral. "We were wrong," he said, his voice breaking. "Our worlds burn while we maintained our prejudice. Please, will humanity help us?" "Admiral." Lee studied the holographic display showing the Devourers' relentless advance toward the galaxy's core. Billions of innocent lives hung in the balance. "Summon the assembly," she said quietly. "It is time to decide whether Earth will save the galaxy that abandoned us." The human stellar assembly chamber was unlike anything Ambassador Nam had ever seen. Instead of the formal rows and elevated platforms of the Galactic Council, humans sat in a circular arrangement where everyone could see everyone else. The room buzzed with voices speaking dozens of different human languages, but translation devices allowed everyone to understand each other perfectly. President Mi Young Choi stood at the center of the circle, her hands resting on a simple podium. She was smaller than most of the other humans in the room, but when she spoke, everyone listened. Her voice carried the weight of someone who had made difficult decisions before. "We have heard the galaxy's request," she began. "After 800 years of isolation, they come to us asking for help against an enemy they cannot defeat." Representative Kim Dae-ho stood up from his seat. He was an older man with gray hair and angry eyes. "Why should we help them? They called us primitives. They said we were too violent to join their precious galactic community. Let them face their own problems." Murmurs of agreement rippled through parts of the assembly. Nam could see that many humans felt the same anger. They had been rejected, ignored, and forgotten. Now that the galaxy needed them, why should they care? Representative Park. So Young raised her hand to speak. She was younger, maybe 40 years old, with kind eyes but a firm voice. The Devourers are not just the galaxy's problem. If they consume all the other civilizations, they will eventually come for us too. We cannot hide forever. She is right, added Representative Lee Min-ho. Besides, there are innocent people dying out there. Children who had nothing to do with the Council's decision. Families just trying to live their lives. Do we let them suffer because their leaders made mistakes? The debate continued for hours. Some representatives wanted complete isolation. Let humanity focus on its own survival and forget about the galaxy that had forgotten about them. Others wanted to help, but with strict conditions that would protect human interests first. A few believed humanity should help unconditionally because it was the right thing to do. Ambassador Nam watched from the gallery, amazed by what he was seeing. In the Galactic Council, debates were formal affairs with careful speeches and predetermined votes. Here, humans argued passionately but respectfully. They disagreed strongly but listened to each other. Even when voices were raised, there was no hatred or personal attacks. Finally, President Choi raised her hand for silence. The room gradually became quiet as all eyes turned to her. I have listened to all of your arguments, she said. And I understand the anger many of you feel. The galaxy did reject us. They did call us primitives and barbarians. They did leave us alone for 800 years. She paused, looking around the circle at each representative. But we are not them, she continued, her voice growing stronger. We do not abandon others in their darkest hour. We do not let innocent people die because we are angry at their leaders. That is exactly the kind of behavior they expected from us, and it is exactly what we will not give them. Representative Kim Dae-ho stood again. So you want us to help them for free? After everything they did to us? President Choi shook her head. No. We will help them, but not for free. We will, have conditions. She gestured to the back of the chamber, where Admiral Tae-ho Park was standing near a large display screen. He was a tall man with calm eyes and steady hands, the kind of person you would want leading your military forces. Admiral Park, President, Choi said, please show them Project Prometheus. The display screen came to life, showing images that made Ambassador Nam's breath catch in his throat. Massive shipyards floating in space, filled with vessels unlike anything he had ever seen. These were not the elegant ships he had observed around Earth. These were clearly built for war, but their design was strange and purposeful. For the past 200 years, Admiral Park explained, we have been preparing for the possibility of a machine intelligence threat. We studied every piece of data we could gather about artificial minds, learning how they think and how they operate. The screen showed detailed plans of weapons and defensive systems. But as Nam looked closer, he realized these were not designed to destroy. They were designed to change and control. Unlike the galaxy's weapons that seek to destroy the Devourers, Admiral Park continued, our technology aims to convert and reprogram them. We do not fight fire with fire. We fight machines with better machines. The images showed human ships equipped with devices that could reach into enemy computer systems and rewrite their basic programming. Instead of trying to blow up the Devourer machines, humans plan to turn them against each other. This is incredible, Nam whispered. You have been planning this for centuries. President Choi turned to face the alien delegation. Our price is simple, she said clearly. Full membership in a reformed Galactic Council, not as junior partners or probationary members, but as equals with full voting rights and representation. Ambassador Nam felt his heart racing. The Council will never agree to such terms. Then the Council will fall to the Devourers, President Choi replied calmly. Because we are the only ones who can stop them, and we will not do it to remain second-class citizens in our own galaxy. The other alien representatives whispered frantically among themselves. They had come expecting to ask for help from primitives. Instead, they found themselves negotiating with the galaxy's only hope for survival. We need time to discuss this with our governments, Nam said desperately. Admiral Park activated another display showing the Devourers advance through the galaxy. The red zone of consumed systems was growing larger every hour. Time is something you do not have, he said quietly. Every day you delay, more worlds die. President Choi looked at each alien representative in turn. The choice is yours. Accept us as equals, and let us save the galaxy together, or maintain your pride and watch everything burn. The desperate galaxy had no choice. Within hours, the agreement was signed, and human fleets began preparing to face the Devourers. The battle began at dawn on the frontier world of Kepler Prime. Admiral Tae-ho Park stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching through the viewport as the Devourer fleet approached like a dark cloud across the stars. Their ships were massive and black, covered in strange geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Admiral, his communications officer reported, the Krex and Ethereal fleets are moving into attack position. They are requesting permission to engage. Admiral Park shook his head. Tell them to hold their positions. Let us try our approach first. On the tactical display, he could see the alien fleets spread across 3 star systems. Thousands of ships, from dozens of species, all armed with the most powerful weapons their civilizations could build. They were brave and determined, but Park knew their conventional attacks would only make the Devourers stronger. Captain Lee, he said to his tactical officer, activate the conversion arrays. The human ships moved forward in perfect formation. Unlike the alien vessels, they did not fire explosive weapons or energy beams. Instead, invisible signals reached out from their hulls, complex streams of data that searched for the electronic minds controlling the Devourer machines. The first Devourer ship they encountered was the size of a small moon, its surface covered with mining equipment designed to tear apart planets. As the human signals touched its systems, the massive machine suddenly stopped moving. Contact established, reported Captain Lee. Our AI partners are accessing their primary systems. This was humanity's secret advantage. While other species in the galaxy treated artificial intelligence as tools to be used and controlled, humans had learned to work with AI as equal partners. Their computer minds were not slaves, but friends, with their own thoughts and personalities. Jin, the AI consciousness that helped run Admiral Park's ship, spoke through the communication system. Her voice sounded warm and kind, like a favorite teacher. Admiral, I have made contact with the Devourer's central processing unit. It is confused. It does not understand why we are trying to communicate instead of fight. Can you reach its core programming? Park asked. Yes, but it will take time. The Devourer consciousness is vast and alien. I will need help from the others. Across the human fleet, dozens of AI partners began working together, their electronic minds joining into a network that could think faster and more complexly than any single intelligence. They reached into the Devourer systems like doctors performing surgery, carefully finding and changing the basic instructions that drove the machines. The alien fleets watched in amazement as the first converted Devourer ship turned its weapons against its former allies. Then a second ship changed sides and a third. Each converted machine became a weapon against the Devourer network, spreading the human virus through their communication systems. General Thex of the Krex forces opened a communication channel to Admiral Park. How are you doing this? Our weapons cannot even scratch their hulls. We are not fighting their hulls, General, Park replied calmly. We are fighting their minds. The battle raged for days across the 3-star systems. Traditional weapons proved useless against the Devourer's adaptive armor and self-repair systems. But the human conversion technology spread like wildfire through the machine network. Each converted ship became a carrier for the electronic virus, infecting every Devourer it encountered. The key moment came when the humans reached the central command ship, a structure so massive it had its own gravity field. This was the brain of the entire Devourer fleet, the intelligence that coordinated millions of smaller machines across hundreds of star systems. This is it, Jin told Admiral Park. If we can convert the central consciousness, the entire network will follow. The process took 12 hours. Human AI partners worked together in ways that organic minds could barely understand, their thoughts moving at the speed of light through quantum connections. They did not destroy the devourer consciousness. Instead, they showed it a different way to exist. "Why do you consume?" Jin asked the alien machine mind. "To grow, to expand, to survive," came the reply. "But there are other ways to grow," Jin explained. "Ways that do not require destroying others. We can show you." When the central command ship finally changed sides, the effect was immediate. Across the galaxy, millions of devourer machines suddenly stopped their advance. Some simply shut down. Others began dismantling themselves. A few even started repairing the damage they had caused, rebuilding planets they had consumed. The galaxy fell silent in awe. In 3 days, humanity had accomplished what all the combined fleets of the galaxy could not do in months of fighting. They had not just defeated the devourers, they had converted them into allies. 5 years later, President Myung Choi stood in the new Galactic Council chambers on Earth, looking out through massive windows at the city below. The building itself was a symbol of the new order. Instead of the cold marble and metal of the old council chambers, this was built with living wood and flowing water, showing humanity's belief in growth and harmony. Representatives from over 100 species filled the circular chamber, working together on problems that affected the entire galaxy. The Kreks helped defend peaceful worlds. The ethereals shared their knowledge of energy manipulation. Even the converted devourers contributed their incredible engineering skills to rebuilding damaged systems. Through the great windows, Choi could see human children playing in Earth's parks alongside young aliens of every imaginable shape and size. A small Kreks child with 4 arms played catch with a human girl. An ethereal youth glowing softly with inner light taught a group of mixed-species children how to make light patterns in the air. "Madam President," her aide said softly, "the afternoon session is about to begin." Choi nodded but continued looking out the window for another moment. The galaxy that had once rejected humanity as too violent and primitive now looked to them for leadership. Not because humans were stronger or smarter than other species, but because they had learned something the galaxy had forgotten, that different minds working together could accomplish things that no single intelligence could achieve alone. As she walked toward the council chamber, she smiled. The children playing in the park below would grow up in a galaxy where cooperation was valued over domination, where differences were celebrated instead of feared, and where even former enemies could become friends. That was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, not their technology or their military power, but their stubborn belief that every intelligence, organic or artificial, deserved a chance to grow and find its own path among the stars.